He forged power of attorney. He put me here to liquidate my assets. I have a winning lottery ticket in my shoe. I need you to get me out, secure my winnings in a trust he can never touch, and help me destroy him." Aaron didn't blink. "Okay," he said, as if I just asked him to pass the salt. "Here's what we do." The plan was beautiful in its simplicity. Aaron's team, funded by a retainer from Ruby's credit card, which I would repay 1,000-fold, filed an emergency petition for my release, complete with a motion for an immediate, independent psychiatric evaluation. They also, far more importantly, began the process of claiming the lottery winnings, directing them into a newly formed, impenetrable, anonymous trust. 3 days later, the administrator knocked on my door. "Margaret, your nephew is here with a doctor and a court order." Brandon was there too. He'd clearly been summoned by the facility. His face was a mask of confusion and rage. "What is this? Mom, who are these people?" "This is Dr. Amos," Aaron said smoothly, "a court-appointed psychiatrist. And this," he held up the paper, "is a judicial order for your mother's immediate release into my care, pending a competency evaluation." "You can't," Brandon sputtered. "I'm her power of attorney. She's not competent." "That," Dr. Amos said, stepping forward, "is what I am here to determine. Margaret, would you like to come with us?" I stood up. I walked past Brandon, not even glancing at him. I got into Aaron's car. As we pulled away, I looked back. Brandon was on the curb, screaming into his phone. He had no idea the $5 million was already gone. He had no idea his entire world was about to end. We didn't go back to my house. We went to Tennessee. Aaron had an associate there, and the laws were more favorable. We settled into a secure, rented home in a remote part of the state. The first thing we did, we hired a forensic accountant. The lottery money, now secure in the David Taylor Memorial Trust, named for my late husband, a detail I knew would infuriate Brandon, was my arsenal. The report came back 2 weeks later, and it was worse than I could have imagined. Brandon hadn't just been stealing for 6 months. He'd been stealing for years. He started small, Aaron explained, highlighting lines on the report. Using your credit card, siphoning from your pension. But when David died, he escalated. He forged your signature on a loan application, taking out 100,000 line of credit against your home. He forged David's signature after he was deceased to liquidate a joint stock account. He's committed wire fraud, identity theft, and multiple felonies. He didn't just put me in that home to start stealing, I said, the coldness spreading. He put me there to hide the stealing he'd already done. He was afraid I'd find out. Exactly, Aaron said. And now he's desperate. Brandon's counterattack was predictable. He filed a petition in my home state to have me declared incompetent in absentia. He claimed I had been abducted by a predatory legal team and that my dementia made me susceptible. He even started a GoFundMe, posting a tearful video. "Help me save my sick mother from her kidnappers." "He's good," I murmured, watching the video. The devoted son crying on camera. "We're better," Aaron said. He thinks he's fighting for your old assets. He has no idea you're a multimillionaire. He's playing checkers, Margaret. We're playing chess. We let him build his case for 3 months. We let him lie to the media. We let him perjure himself in court filings. We gathered every GoFundMe post, every interview, every motion his lawyer filed. Then we prepared for the final move. The competency hearing was set for a Tuesday in July. Brandon walked into that courtroom like he owned it, his face a mask of somber filial duty. His lawyer presented his proof, a doctored video of me looking confused, a clip from David's funeral, a statement from the Willow Pines administrator about my agitation. As you can see, Your Honor, Mrs. Taylor is a danger to herself. My client, her loving son, only wants to protect her and her assets from those who would prey on her. The judge, a no-nonsense woman named Alvarez, looked over her glasses. Thank you, counsel. I will now hear from Mrs. Taylor's attorney. Mr. Gold, I was told your client would be appearing via video from Tennessee. That will not be necessary, Your Honor, Aaron said, standing. The courtroom doors at the back opened. I walked in. I was not the confused, floral-dressed woman Brandon had committed. I wore a custom-tailored navy suit. My hair was perfect. On my arm was not a nurse, but the CEO of my new legal team. I walked past the bar and sat next to Aaron, placing my new, expensive leather briefcase on the table with a soft thud. Brandon's face. It was a masterpiece. The color drained away, leaving a sick, pale green. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. Mrs. Taylor, Judge Alvarez said, her eyes wide, we are pleased you could join us. I was under the impression you were incapacitated. I stood. Your Honor, I am Margaret Taylor. I am of sound mind, and I am the victim of a multi-year systematic fraud perpetrated by my son, Brandon Taylor. For the next 2 hours, we presented our case. Not just Aaron, but a team. The forensic accountant took the stand, detailing every single forged signature, every illegal transfer, every dollar stolen. We showed the loan documents Brandon took out in my dead husband's name. Then Dr. Amos, the independent psychiatrist I had hired, took the stand. Your Honor, he said, I have evaluated Mrs. Taylor extensively. She is not only competent, she is exceptionally sharp with a superior intellect. The claim of dementia is not just inaccurate, it is a malicious fabrication. Finally, Aaron addressed the court. Your Honor, Mr. Taylor put his mother in a home to silence her while he plundered her estate. He then had the audacity to come to this court under oath and claim she was the one who was sick, all while running a fraudulent GoFundMe campaign. He is not a concerned son. He is a criminal. Brandon's lawyer was frantically whispering to him, but Brandon was immobile, staring at me, his mask of concern shattered, revealing the desperate, greedy man underneath. The petition is dismissed with prejudice, Judge Alvarez said, her voice ringing with fury. And I am referring this entire matter, every document, every testimony to the district attorney's office for immediate criminal investigation. Brandon made a small, choked sound. And Mr. Taylor, the judge added, your actions are the most despicable case of elder abuse I have ever seen. You should be ashamed. I stood up, collected my briefcase, and without a single look back at my son, I walked out of the courtroom. Brandon's world collapsed. The DA's office indicted him within a week. The federal investigation, triggered by our evidence, added charges of wire fraud and identity theft. The media, which had once painted him as a hero, now gleefully tore him apart as a monster. He lost his job, his reputation, and, I heard, his wife. But my victory felt hollow. I thought of the other women at Willow Pines, the ones with vacant eyes, the ones whose families never visited, the ones who didn't have a secret lottery ticket. I sat with Aaron in my new Tennessee home, the $5 million, now closer to $7 million with recovered assets, sitting in the trust. I can't just enjoy this, I said. Not after what I saw. So don't, he replied. We started the Margaret Project. I anonymously donated the first $5 million to a nonprofit dedicated to providing free legal services for victims of elder financial abuse. The massive anonymous donation made national news, sparking a public conversation. But I didn't stop there. I used my name, my story, and my remaining funds to build the foundation. We lobby for reform in senior care facilities. We provide resources to families. We have a hotline run by people like Ruby for nurses who suspect abuse. I finally did a public interview. I sat on a national morning show, not as a victim, but as an advocate. I told my story, every painful detail. I talked about Brandon, not with hatred, but with a cold sadness for the son I had lost long before I ever locked him out of my life. I am free. I have reclaimed my name, my dignity, and my independence. Brandon's betrayal was devastating, but he fundamentally misunderstood me. He thought my kindness was weakness. He thought my love was leverage. He never realized that the same woman who had sacrificed everything for her son was capable of sacrificing that same son for justice. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching. On my 62nd birthday, my son Brandon drove me to a senior living facility, took my keys and my phone, and told the staff I was a danger to myself. He thought he was locking me away to steal my future. He had no idea that tucked inside my left shoe was a winning lottery ticket, and that he wasn't just committing his mother. He was giving me the time and the motive to dismantle his entire life. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. The day had started with a pathetic kind of hope. It was my 62nd birthday, my second one since my husband David passed. The silence in my small home was a physical weight. And when Brandon called to say he was taking me out for a special birthday surprise, I'd felt a rush of gratitude that nearly brought me to tears. My son, he'd been so distant lately, so wrapped up in his consulting business, so stressed about money. I'd helped, of course. I'd given him $10,000 last year to help with his mortgage, And I'd let him borrow my credit card for business expenses he never quite itemized. But I was his mother. That's what we do. "Wear something nice, Mom," he'd said on the phone, his voice warmer than it had been in months. I put on my best floral dress. When he arrived, he was all smiles, kissing my cheek and carrying a small, beautifully wrapped gift. "This is just part one, Mom." The real surprise is where we're going. We drove for nearly an hour, past the familiar downtown skyline and deep into the suburbs I didn't recognize. He kept the conversation light, asking about my garden, my doctor's appointments. I felt a knot of anxiety in my stomach ease for the first time in years. He did care. He was still the boy I'd raised. He finally turned on to a winding drive lined with perfectly manicured hedges. A large brick building stood at the end, looking more like a university dormitory than a destination. "Willow Pine Senior Living," the polished brass sign read. "Brandon, what is this?" I laughed nervously. "This isn't a spa, is it?" "It's better, Mom," he said, shutting off the engine. He came around to open my door, his smile perfectly, terrifyingly calm. "It's a place where you'll be safe." The lobby was sterile and smelled of disinfectant and overcooked vegetables. A woman with a clipboard and a plastic smile greeted us. "You must be Margaret, and you're Brandon. We have all your paperwork ready." "Paperwork?" My voice was a small squeak. "Mom, we've been so worried," Brandon said, taking my arm. His grip wasn't gentle. It was proprietary. "You've been forgetting things. You left the stove on last week. You missed your high-pressure medication. I can't be there 24/7. This is the best solution." I had not left the stove on. I'd never missed my medication. This was a lie. A cold, complete fabrication. "Brandon, what are you talking about?" I tried to pull my arm away, but his grip tightened. "See?" he said to the administrator, his voice dripping with false concern. "She's confused, agitated. It's getting worse." "Margaret, dear, why don't we get you settled?" the woman said, as if I were a child. "We just need your purse and your phone. We'll keep them safe for you at the front desk." They didn't ask. They took. Brandon handed my purse over. A nurse, built like a linebacker, gently but firmly took my phone from my hand. "Brandon, no, you can't do this." The panic was a cold flood rising in my chest. He leaned in, his smile gone, replaced by a mask of cold impatience. "It's done, Mom. I have power of attorney. I've been managing your finances for 6 months. You're not well." He kissed my forehead. "I'll visit next week. Try to relax. It's for your own good." He turned and walked out. The glass doors slid shut behind him. I lunged forward, but the nurse caught my arm. Now, dear, let's not make a fuss. It's time for your intake." I was led to a small beige room with a single bed and a window that didn't open. The door clicked shut behind me. It wasn't a normal lock. It was a magnetic lock, the kind that only opens from the outside. I sank onto the thin mattress, the floral of my birthday dress feeling like a cruel joke. He'd been planning this. The missed medication, the forgetfulness. He'd been building a case. The power of attorney. I'd signed some papers last year he said were for his mortgage, something about a co-signer. I'd trusted him. I was 62. in perfect health, and my son had just had me committed to steal what was left of my life. I sat there for an hour, a day, I don't know. Despair was a physical thing, a thick, suffocating blanket. Then I remembered. My hand, trembling, slipped off my left shoe. Tucked beneath the insole, folded into a tiny, sweat-dampened square, was the lottery ticket I'd bought at the corner store last week on a whim. I'd been meaning to check the numbers. At that moment, the despair didn't just lift, it evaporated. It was replaced by something cold, something hard, something I hadn't felt since David died. Resolve. Brandon thought I was a confused old woman. He thought he had won. He had no idea that he'd just locked me in a cage with a multi-million-dollar secret and nothing left to do but plot. The first week at Willow Pines was a masterclass in humiliation. I was Margaret. My schedule was dictated by bells. 7 a.m. breakfast, powdered eggs. 10 a.m. activity time, sitting in a circle. 12 p.m. lunch, gray meat. 4 p.m. quiet time. I played the part. I was quiet, compliant, and pleasantly confused, just as Brandon had described. I smiled at the staff, I sat in the circle, and I watched. Most of the nurses were just tired, overworked, and indifferent. But there was one, Ruby, who was different. She was a night nurse, young, with kind eyes that held a spark of defiance. She didn't talk to the residents like they were children. She listened. On the 5th night, she was doing her rounds and found me by the locked terrace door, staring at the parking lot. "You don't belong here, do you, Margaret?" she whispered, not as a question, but as a statement. My eyes filled with tears. "No, my son, he lied." "They always do," she said, her voice bitter. "This place is full of people whose kids wanted their houses." "I need your help," I whispered, my heart pounding. "I can pay you. I need you to check a lottery ticket for me, and I need to make a call." She looked at me, her job on the line. I saw the calculation. I met her gaze, letting her see I was not confused. I was furious. "Give me the ticket," she said. An hour later, she returned. She didn't glide. She ran to my room, her face white as the bedsheets. She locked the door behind her. "Margaret," she whispered, her voice shaking as she held out the ticket. "You won. Not a few hundred. You won the 5 million jackpot." I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I simply nodded. The cold resolve in my chest solidified into steel. Good. Now the phone call. I need to speak to an attorney named Aaron Gold. He's a volunteer for the Elder Justice Project. Tell him it's Margaret Taylor. Tell him it's urgent. Ruby made the call from the nurse's station, pretending it was a query about my medication. Aaron arrived the next day under the guise of being my nephew. He was young, sharp, and his eyes were full of a fire that matched my own. We sat in the depressing common room, pretending to look at a photo album while I spoke in a low, urgent monotone.